Fridays at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. 49ers versus Rams first look. And it doesn't get much bigger than this. And everyone by now has probably heard Yetur Gross-Matos say when he's coming off the field, first playoff win as they were officially defeating the Chicago Bears. And that's what the 49ers are in right now. They're looking at every single game like it's a playoff game. And really, that's what they have to do. They need to win out to secure a playoff spot. Now, there are some other scenarios in which they can make it, but every scenario, the 49ers need help. They need Seattle to lose games. They need to make sure they win against the Rams and the Cardinals, but they also need the Rams to beat the Seahawks. So there's a lot of things that are going to go into the 49ers' attempt to make the playoffs, but it all starts with beating the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday night. You did the first part. You beat the Chicago Bears. But now you've got to take care of the Rams. Then you've got to take care of the Dolphins. Then Detroit. Then Arizona. Not an easy task. But you have to stay on the task at hand. And you hear the 49ers players talk all the time about focusing on one game and making it a one-game season. And when you get into the playoffs, that's exactly what you have to do. But hearing that statement from Yetur Gross-Matos gives you kind of an idea of the 49ers mindset. Brock Purdy and Giamino Lenore were asked by Kyle Shanahan to speak to the team pre-Chicago Bears game, and it appears to have worked because they came out with a different intensity than we've seen all season. In fact, now that you look back, doesn't it appear that the 49ers played with a playoff intensity? The Bears were playing a regular season game. The 49ers were playing a playoff game in their minds, and I think it played out on the field. The 49ers were executing at the highest of levels that they've executed all season. Guys like Jake Brendel stepped up and made plays. Dominic Pooney had his best game of the season, which is saying a whole lot. Yetur Gross-Matos had 3 sacks. You had Leonard Floyd having 2 sacks. It was just all hands on deck and everyone playing a pretty clean game. That's exactly what you expect from a 49ers team built to win in the playoffs and built to go to the Super Bowl. Now, they've got a long ways to go before they can get there, and it starts with this Rams game, and I'm looking forward to getting into the Rams because the 49ers and Rams have already met up this season, and the 49ers feel like that one got away. Kyle Shanahan has mentioned at the podium a couple of times that they feel like they should have won that game. In fact, they feel like they should have won 3 other NFC West games against the Rams, against the Cardinals, and the last one against the Seahawks, where they gave up leads in the fourth quarter. So the 49ers know what they have to do to beat the Rams. Now they have to go do it. But we're going to talk about some of the things that will help them along the way. Key matchups that are going to be interesting for the 49ers on offense and defense. And just start painting a picture for this big-time game on Thursday night. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. It goes a long way to help me out. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC, head to Bet Online today and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. So when you talk 49ers versus Rams, the first thing you look at is the Rams are having a pretty good run right now. And some people have been talking about the fact that the Rams are absolutely rolling. That's what I was seeing on Twitter. The Rams are rolling right now. And I think the easiest way to look at it is the way they performed against the Buffalo Bills definitely shows the Rams offense has the ability to be very potent. Now, that seems to be a little bit of an outlier, though. They scored 44 points against the Buffalo Bills, but when you look at their games this season, they've never come close to scoring 40 before. In fact, most of the time, they're around 20. So this offense exploded against the Bills. The matchups, just the way the game was going, definitely played into the Rams' hands. But that's not the norm for this offense. Now, their offense is good, and they've got plenty of weapons. Puka Nacua, of course, is somebody you always like to start with. But Cooper Kupp, and then a run game of Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. And Corum has started to get more carries recently. But the Rams aren't really executing in the run game as well as they have in the past. They average just over 100 yards per game. So for perspective, last week the Chicago Bears came into the game with the 49ers averaging 109 yards per game on the ground. The Rams enter this contest with the 49ers averaging 103 yards on the ground. And what have we heard Kyle Shanahan talk about? And this is something that has been echoed from defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen, is let's take away the run game and make a team one-dimensional. What happened last week to Chicago Bears? They took away DeAndre Swift. They took away Caleb Williams in that running game, and they made them one-dimensional. And Caleb Williams had plenty of talent. He had good wide receivers, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, a good tight end in Cole Kmet. Plenty of weapons. They just couldn't execute at a high enough level to beat the 49ers. Now, let's look at the quarterback position because there's a first overall pick in Matthew Stafford playing for the Rams in a completely different setting than Caleb Williams, who's a rookie. Matthew Stafford's seen it all. He's seen every coverage. He's seen every blitz concept. Everything that anyone has possibly could and have thrown at him, he understands at this point in his career. And he's won in the biggest moments. He won a Super Bowl, which means he's got the ability to adjust on the fly, persevere, and make big plays. He's also got a short-term memory. When he makes a mistake, he's able to get over it quickly. So this is a entirely different animal that the 49ers are going to be going against when you're talking about 49ers versus Rams. But they definitely know how to play against Matthew Stafford. They know that if you can get pressure on him, especially right up the middle in his face, that is the best situation for you to be able to create turnovers. Because Matthew Stafford will put the ball up in harm's way because he has a lot of faith in his wide receivers. And it's not just Puka Nacua and it's not just Cooper Kupp, but they also got other guys as well. Demarcus Robinson. And the last time the 49ers played them, they really struggled with Tutu Atwell. So last time that they were without a couple of their wide receivers, and they still were able to handle business against the 49ers. Now, the 49ers at the time were not playing the secondary the way they're playing now. The 49ers secondary has continued to get better and better. So let's look at that game of the 49ers versus the Rams, and the 49ers lost that game 27-24. In fact, it was the only win for the Los Angeles Rams in their first 5 games. They lost to Detroit, which was a good performance. They lost in overtime. Then they got blown out by Arizona by 31 points. Then they beat the 49ers by 3, and the 49ers collapsed. They lost to those Chicago Bears. The 49ers just beat 24-18. Then they lost to Green Bay 24-19. So it's not like they got blown out by anyone but Arizona, but they lost. Now, when you look at their wins, in Week 7, they beat the Las Vegas Raiders 20-15, a 5-point victory. That definitely helped them. Then they got a very surprising win over the Minnesota Vikings. They won that one 30-20. Then they beat Seattle in overtime in Seattle 26-20, which is a big win. So you can see they got on a 3-game win streak. Then they lost to Miami, then beat New England by 6. Not exactly the best victory, but a good one. They lost to Philadelphia by 17, 37-20. Then they beat New Orleans 21-14. Then this week, Buffalo 44-42. But that is exactly why I don't understand why people are saying like this offense is unstoppable. Let's go, back to, let's say, the Minnesota game. They scored 30. That was the high point for them this season before Buffalo. That is an impressive game for sure. Puka Nacua went off for 106 yards in that football game, and it was, all hands on deck. Everyone was back, and we've seen this offense roll a little bit better since then. But it's interesting because their offense has been good but they're still struggling in some key areas. There's some things, that make this offense maybe not be as good as we've seen them be in the past. And let's just look at their numbers a little bit. So they average 340 yards per game. And that's a good number. Anywhere around there is pretty good. You'd love to be closer to 400, closer to where the 49ers are. 49ers average 378 yards a game. That means they're really taking control of the clock and moving the ball up and down the field. Now, when you look at that run game, 103 is the real question mark. Can they get a steady run game going against the 49ers? Because the weakness so far of the 49ers defense this season has been the run defense. They're allowing 115 yards per game on the ground, and especially since the bye, they've given up more and more yards on the ground, including explosion by the Buffalo Bills of over 200 yards, over 160 yards against the Packers. That inflated that number a lot. 49ers were getting it closer to 100 yards per game, but it's been huge. And then the Rams averaged 22.9 points per game. So it hasn't been an offensive explosion. In fact, they average less points per game than the 49ers do. 49ers actually averaged 23.7 points per game while running the football for 139 yards per game. So you can see that there's a little bit of a different method to how the 49ers and Rams do things. So Matthew Stafford in that offense, they've been good, but they haven't been fantastic. Kyren Williams, Blake Corum make for a nice 1-2 punch at running back with Corum coming on lately. So it's going to be interesting. They still have good tight ends, especially with Kobe Parkinson and Davis Allen, but Tyler Higbee is out, so he will not be playing in this football game. Now you look at the offensive line, it has gotten a lot more healthy since the 49ers played them in week 3. Alaric Jackson is the left tackle. Steve Avila is back. He was out for that game. He's at left guard. Bo Limmer is playing center. Kevin Dotson, the right guard, and Rob Havenstein playing right tackle. They were playing Warren McClendon at right tackle last time. So a lot of injuries have definitely hampered part of the Rams season, but they've been able to get healthy recently, and that's a good thing for them. Now let's talk about some of the key matchups, for the Rams and the 49ers. Let's talk offense versus defense. And one thing that I want to see is how the 49ers are going to be able to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. We've seen different methods to what Sean McVay wants to do against the 49ers. And I'll go back to last season against Steve Wilkes' defense. And what did he try to do? Well, he tried to get the ball out quickly. Let's just completely eliminate the 49ers pass rush. Get the ball out in just over 2 seconds, and we'll take the easy throws, pick up 4, pick up 5, and make the 49ers rally and make tackles. And they did that for an entire half, and it was successful. And then Steve Wilkes made an adjustment, and the 49ers put more pressure on those guys on the outside, and it wasn't there. Matthew Stafford wasn't able to complete at the highest percentage he did in the first half, and they kind of fell off, and the 49ers ran away with the game. Now you fast forward to this season in week 3, and the Rams did something that they didn't normally do in any season under Sean McVay. They ran 12 personnel. That means they had 1 running back and 2 tight ends, and they ran that like a few times the season prior, but they ran it a ton against the 49ers with the thought process being, let's load up and let's run the ball consistently, and then when we're in the passing game, let's take advantage of the 49ers linebackers. And at the time, Dee Winters was dealing with an injury, so the 49ers were going with Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. That wasn't working out very well. They were attacking Flanagan-Fowles pretty consistently, and Devondre Campbell hadn't completely adjusted to the 49ers scheme. So it was a big-time advantage for the Rams when it came to not just running the football out of 12 personnel, which is a more heavy set with Higbee, with Kobe Parkinson. That was definitely the best grouping for them with injuries at wide receiver. And they were able to get some things going in that football game. So that to me is one of the interesting things, is being able to stop the run. But what exactly will the Rams come out and do? Will it be their traditional 11 personnel where they get 3 wide receivers on the field? Will they try to go back to that 2 tight end look with 12 personnel? If they do, this time it's going to be Kobe Parkinson, Davis Allen, Hunter Long, no Tyler Higbee. So might lose a little bit when it comes to the passing game. And do you want to take one of your skilled wide receivers off the field? You know, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are going to be out on the field at all times, but are you going to pull off Demarcus Robinson or Tutu Atwell or Jordan Whittington? Those are going to be question marks to see how the Rams go about it. So really curious to see how they attack and how they go after the 49ers when it comes to offense, because that's going to dictate exactly who's on the field. Now, one of the big things that we're going to have to find out, and as of time of recording, we don't know, and this is going to play out during the week, is Dre Greenlaw going to play? If Dre Greenlaw is going to play, that could be a huge advantage for the 49ers in stopping the run. Now, putting the 49ers in a base 4-3 doesn't sound very advantageous for the Rams. Do you really want to see 57, 54, and 59 at linebacker? That's probably the 49ers' best run-stopping linebacker group, and this is what everyone was hoping for when Dre Greenlaw came back. So if Dre's playing, that three-man group right there, that's really good against stopping the run. So that might not be as enticing for Sean McVay to go to, is that particular look, because of what he would face with those three linebackers. Plus, Talanoa Hufanga made a huge impact on Sunday against the Bears, not just in the passing game and being able to get everyone lined up in the right spots. No more confusion in the secondary. Everyone knew where they were supposed to be. They were formationally lining up in the proper places. The leadership that he provided was huge for that 49ers secondary. That's number one. Number two, what he did in the running game, being able to fill in run fits, was huge for this football team. Being a good tackler, over a 85 tackle grade in that football game, those types of things prevent plays that would normally get 6 or 7 against Jair Brown because he wouldn't make the tackle or wouldn't be secure in his run fit, to giving up 3 or 4. And that huge difference plays out on third down, where all of a sudden it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, when it could have been 3rd and 2. Those are the difference between stopping someone from converting on third and allowing a first down on third down. Now, the Rams haven't been great on third down this season. That has been a problem for them as an offense. But I do believe that that is something that's going to help the 49ers in this football game, is having Hufanga and hopefully Dre Greenlaw back. The energy that Dre Greenlaw is going to bring is going to be absolutely fantastic. But the Los Angeles Rams, 36.7% conversion rate on third down. What did the 49ers do last week? Held Chicago Bears to 40%. Part of the way they did it is they forced 3rd and longs. You get Matthew Stafford into 3rd and longs, you're going to have some good opportunities. So this 49ers defense, depending on what the Rams do, it's going to be interesting. My guess is the Rams are probably going to try and test the 49ers run defense early. And I'm thinking that when it comes to Nick Sorensen, he's going to try to take it away early. Now, you don't want to get one-on-one matchups on the outside where you're going to have a problem. So you want to make sure you get some key matchups. And one of the key matchups in this game that's going to be a blast to watch is going to be Cooper Kupp versus Deommodore Lenoir in the slot. Kupp is one of the best still route runners in the league. He can really do it all. And then Deommodore Lenoir is an ascending player who is becoming one of the best nickel corners in the entire league. So that matchup is going to be crazy good. 10-on-2 is exactly what everyone's going to be watching, because that's going to be a fun one. And then what are we going to get from Charvarius Ward and from Bernardo Green? We talked about the talent there. And when Tutu Atwell's out there, you can't allow explosive plays over the top. But it's not just about the speed of Tutu Atwell or Demarcus Robinson. It's also the skilled route running by Puka Nacua. So the 49ers are going to have to make sure they are on point. Now, what did they do last week? A ton of cover 2, actually. And so that was a little bit of a different change. And Caleb Williams was coming up. The 49ers were showing a shell for a cover 4 quarters defense. And then all of a sudden they were in cover 2. And you could tell with some of the adjustments they were making, with some inverted cover 2, some Tampa 2, and then the cover 2, then the quarters, they were keeping him kind of guessing, and it was throwing him off, maybe making him hold on to the football a little bit longer. How much can you do that against Matthew Stafford? I think it's a little bit more difficult with his experience. But I think occasionally you can do that. I think that sometimes bringing pressure is okay, even though Matthew Stafford is very good against the blitz. So those are going to be some fun matchups for the 49ers. But forcing third and long by slowing down that run game on early downs is going to be pivotal. And if the 49ers can do it, they're going to have a real shot to slow down this Rams offense. And Dre Greenlaw being out there with Campbell and Fred Warner with Hufanga could be the 49ers' best run defense this season. And we've seen the guys up front playing it a little bit better. Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott are going to have to play it great. Evan Anderson, Kalia Davis, they're going to have to play it great as well. You can't get moved. And when they're duo blocking, you can't get moved vertically and create those holes for Kyron Williams or Blake Corum, or they're going to have a successful day on the ground. Now, let's talk a little bit about the 49ers offense and what they're going to be doing against Chris Shula's defense. Now, Chris Shula's defense, they've given up some yards this season. It hasn't been the cleanest defense for sure when you're talking about the Rams. But, he's adjusting. He's coming in as a first-year defensive coordinator for the Rams. They give up 366 yards per game. So the 49ers have a real chance of moving the ball against them. And how about this? 141 yards per game on the ground that they allow. The 49ers average nearly 140 yards. So if the 49ers can establish a running game, this could be a big opportunity to kind of take control of this game, control the clock, wear down the Rams defense, and have some success. Now, 49ers run game wasn't as successful against the Rams last time. They did a very good job with setting the edge and not allowing the 49ers to get any of those outside run games going, any of those toss plays going. Jared Verse did a very good job. It was a good job by Byron Young on the edge. I thought he played it really well. Braden Fisk was very athletic and able to kind of run and create some opportunities. So that's going to be interesting in this game. Another thing to keep in mind, we don't know the status of Isaac Guerrero. We are going to find that out as this week progresses. They're hopeful he's going to be ready to go. But if not, your running back room is going to consist of Patrick Taylor. It's going to consist of Keyshawn Vaughn, who's going to be elevated from the practice squad for sure. He's been with the 49ers. He understands the system. But also the player they claimed last week, Israel Abanikanda, could get his first look and opportunity to run in this 49ers system. So the hope is still Isaac Guerrero. I think every fan is hoping that. I think Kyle Shanahan's hoping that. And I'm sure Guerrero's hoping that as well. It's his opportunity to shine. And he played so well last week. It was a really good performance. And there's an opportunity to have even a better performance against the Rams. And if the 49ers could establish a run game, they really could make it difficult for Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams do give up points at a pretty high level. They give up nearly 26 points per game at 25.5, which is actually more than the San Francisco 49ers defense gives up per game, even though the 49ers defense is considered much more maligned than the Rams. 49ers give up 23.7 points per game and only 298 yards of total offense by the opposing team. And how about this number? This is one that has just been on the steady decline, and probably some of it is pointed towards the Packers running all over the 49ers and the Bills really in that snow game. I mean, it was run game or nothing pretty much in that game, a few passes. But you look at the 49ers as far as the secondary, they're only giving up 182 yards per game through the air. That's fantastic. I've talked before. If you're 175 or under, you're an elite defense when it comes to coverage, and the 49ers are only 7 yards per game away from that. Just a really good performance there. Now, if you could get that run game number down, which is at 115, if you could get that under 100, then all of a sudden you become an elite defense as long as you can create turnovers and things like that. So that's something to monitor as well. And when we're looking at some of the key matchups for the 49ers, a lot of it's going to be on the outside. We talked a little bit about Jared Verse, the first-round pick. I was a huge fan of him, my number one pass rusher in the entire draft. I thought he was just phenomenal, and he's proven to be that guy this season. He's done a very good job of getting in and making plays, and he's had 4.5 sacks this season. So it hasn't been as big, but for a rookie, he's done a very good job. And on the opposite side, it's Byron Young from Tennessee that got him a couple of years ago, another guy I was a huge fan of. And he's got speed on speed on speed. and he's got 6 sacks this season. And the reason that is going to be pivotal in this matchup is because they're going to be going against Jalen Moore and Colt McKivitz. And not just Jalen Moore and McKivitz having to hold up in the pass protection area, but they also have to get movement in the run game. And that did not happen even with Trent Williams playing in week 3. So that's going to be a key element to this 49ers game. Can we get movement for Patrick Taylor? Can we get movement for Keyshawn Vaughn and Israel Abanikanda? And hopefully Isaac Garendo. Hopefully he can step in and make that play as well. Now, they're not exactly weak on the inside either. And one of the matchups to watch is going to be Braden Fisk when he works against Aaron Banks. Banks is going to be back from concussion protocol, but that's going to be an interesting matchup because Fisk is built completely on lateral quickness and speed and explosiveness. As someone who watched Florida State every single game that Braden Fisk played there, him and Jared Verse, I know exactly who he is. That counteracts the strengths of Aaron Banks. Banks is built on strength, on size, on getting movement, but not on moving laterally. That has been a problem for him. Maurice Hurst cooked him his rookie season every day at training camp because of lateral quickness. That is an element to Maurice Hurst's game that is a lot like Braden Fisk. So this is one of those times where if Banks can get his paws on him, he can get pushed. He can move Braden Fisk back. If the 49ers decided they wanted a double team at the point of attack against Braden Fisk, you could definitely get huge movement. The other guy they could do that against is DeJuan Johnson, one of the backup defensive tackles as well. You could get a lot of movement on him. Another guy that I was a huge fan of coming out, so I know what his game is. Those are advantages for the 49ers if they want to get movement. Where it's not an advantage is when you get into passing situations and Braden Fisk can move laterally. That's going to be a problem for Banks. The better matchup actually is Burford, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be Banks, I'm pretty sure. So that's going to be interesting to watch on the inside. 49ers also got to find some opportunities in the passing game as well, where there are some cornerbacks that take advantage of when you're talking about Kobe Bryant, Quentin Lake, the nickel corner. Those are good matchups for the 49ers. And so I think that they've got some stuff there. And when you talk about your safety and free safety. So Cameron Kitchens will come in the game when they go nickel. He'll come in at safety, and Quentin Lake will move to nickel back. So 49ers can find some advantages there. Quentin Lake is a do-it-all, jack of all trades. Pretty good. Remember watching him at UCLA. So Cameron Curl comes over in free agency, and we know the 49ers have an advantage for George Kittle on Cameron Curl. So how exactly do the Rams plan on handling George Kittle, I think, is a key in this game, because they don't have the ability to just match up one-on-one with them unless they go with Quentin Lake. I still take George Kittle over him, but they don't really have the corner to put on him as well. And we seen him last week go off against Chicago when they had an advantage, and they have a distinct advantage in this game. There is no linebacker that can cover George Kittle. There is no safety that can cover George Kittle. Quentin Lake is the best matchup. But if you're going to put Quentin Lake on George Kittle, then you can find a matchup for one of your other receivers, especially when you're in 11 personnel, which would be the time they're in nickel. So that would mean that you're going to get a good situation where you get Cameron Curl, especially if they go man. We don't know. A lot of times they'll run zone. But if they go man, and you're going to get Cameron Curl lined up against Debo or Pearsall or Jawan, that's advantage 49ers in a big way. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play him, but I think this is another game set up for George Kittle to have a good game, especially if the 49ers can establish a run game go early. I think it could be a real problem for them. Now, a little bit of stuff going on as well that I wanted to touch on in this episode is the San Francisco 49ers did restructure the contract of Javon Hargrave, and right now people are already talking about the fact that they believe this could be, this sign that he's going to be gone after the season, setting up a June 1 cut. So let's go over this real quick. This is per a league source. The 49ers recently restructured the contract of Javon Hargrave for 2025 and 2026. And they said in what looks to be a setup to allow for a post-June 1 release next season. The restructuring significantly lowered Hargrave's base salary for 2025 from $19.9 million to $2.1 million, reducing his salary cap hit from $28 million to $10 million. So an $18 million cap savings The move provides the 49ers with financial flexibility should they decide to release Hargrave next season. If the 49ers opt to make Hargrave a post-June 1 release in 2025, his cap hit would be just $10.3 million, less than half of what it would have been before the restructure. Hargrave has guarantees in the contract, so if the team does not opt to release him, the $2.1 million base salary ensures that Hargraves, who is currently injured, will qualify for the maximum injury protection benefit allowed by the CBA if he's still injured after the season. Hargrave has been on injured reserve since September 28th. So they've got his money going way down. 49ers did a similar thing with Deebo Samuel, and people are pointing towards the fact that there is a chance that both of those guys could end up getting released June 1, or it could be that the 49ers are just trying to free up extra space. But I wanted to bring it up because it's something interesting that the 49ers continue to work financially to ensure that they can keep this window open and go out and win. And they might have to re-sign a guy like Talanoa Hufanga and a guy like Drake Greenlaw. So it's going to be interesting. But, the 49ers at least continue to make financial moves that are trying to set themselves up for the future, and we'll see what happens. But it's going to be a fun one this week. 49ers versus Rams is going to be great. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.